Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. A few videos ago, I promised you that I would give you the story of the last time I had sex with the, well, let's say the original factory equipment. This happened back in December 2011, and by that point, I hadn't had sex in over a year. In fact, in the year after I'd had my divorce, I had actually only had one serious relationship, and that was actually with another pre-op trans woman. But we never had full-on sex. We got a little bit close, but never all the way. Over the course of that year, I also got a job at, let's say, a fairly well-known Orlando area theme park in attractions. Now, the attraction I worked at was outside and uncovered, so it got really hot in the Orlando heat. However, eventually my hair got long enough that I could put it up in a ponytail, which was much more comfortable. So on one particular hot day, I was standing at grouper, which is the position where you tell people what number to go to get on the ride. And I just put my hair into this barely existent ponytail when I saw a coworker approaching me. She just walked up to me and said one sentence, as if my day wasn't hard enough, you had to go and put your hair up. Now, this coworker, who I'm going to call A, just like in Pretty Little Liars, was somebody I had never suspected might be attracted to me. There weren't very many gay girls who worked on this ride. So on my very next break, I tracked her down in the break room and I asked her if she was a lesbian. And what she said was that she'd always been curious, but it was something she had never acted out on. And for some reason, when she found out I was transgender, it kind of made the whole situation worse. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe it's because she saw in me somebody who wasn't afraid to be who they wanted to be. Whatever the reason was, I took the initiative and I asked her out. And I took her out to a local lesbian night at a bar called Revolution. And I gotta say, A loved it. Her eyes were huge as she looked at all the girls walking around, all the sexy women, including the go-go dancers on stage. I told one of them that this was A's first time in a gay bar, and she ended up taking A up on stage, laying her down, and pretty much just kind of gyrating and grinding on top of her. At the end of the night, I took A back to her car, which happened to be conveniently parked in the lot of my apartment complex. And as I sat there in my car, I decided to make a move, and we made out for about a half an hour. And then we got pretty hot and heavy, including getting all the way to second base. And because I was still new to this whole woman-on-woman thing, I decided to ask her if it was any different being with me than being with the guy she had been with in the past. And she said, oh yeah, it was so much more softer, so much more sensual, which kind of shocked me because up to that point I didn't realize that about myself. What was even more shocking was I told my ex-wife this story and she said, oh yeah, I totally agree with her. Now you gotta understand, my ex-wife was very cautious not to imply that in any way our old relationship was a lesbian relationship. She did say that she had been with guys after me and she had forgotten what it was like to really be with a guy until that point. So A and I ended up going out a few more times, and on one of those times we finally ended up having sex back in my place. And I was so nervous for a bunch of reasons, one of which was here was this girl who was expecting a lesbian relationship with a woman who had never been with another woman as a woman yet. The only other woman I'd ever had sex with was my wife to that point, and in fact A was only the third girl I'd ever kissed in my entire life. So I put a condom on and we ended up having sex, and we had sex for a very long time, which felt really weird to me. It wasn't something I was at all comfortable with to that point, and I hadn't realized that it would feel like that. I mean, of course I'd had penetrative sex before, but this seemed different somehow. And after it was all done, I decided that I really hated it, that you know what, I was never gonna do that ever again in my life. After that night, A and I ended up having sex 3 more times, and each time afterwards I had sex as if I was a woman without any kind of extra special equipment. I didn't use my penis at all. So you know, there was a lot of kissing, there was a lot of rubbing, there was a lot of penetrating with fingers, there was all that kind of stuff going on. And A did reconfirm that it was much different than being with a guy, which made me feel really good because somehow it made me feel innately more female. I didn't have to be taught these things, it was always just there. And having sex the lesbian way ended up feeling just much more natural to me. I just really look forward to having that vagina finally, the one I had dreamed of my entire life. Of course, my friends all knew this and they ended up throwing me a rebirthday party, which ended up also being a vagina party. Because there were vaginas everywhere, especially in cupcake form. I mean, look at these things, they're incredible. After I left that job, I lost contact with A and I don't know where she is anymore. But if you're watching this video, thank you very much, because you really eased some large fears I had about what my sexual life would be like moving forward as a woman. Of course, after I had surgery, it would take almost a whole other year before I had sex with another woman. That would happen in December 2012. December seems to be a great month for me for having sex. And that first time ended up being with 2 other women, which means it was also my one and only threesome. I mean, at least up till now. And I gotta say, having sex with a vagina and with other vaginas is so much better. On that note, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and see you around the interwebs.